State of Play update, Ghost of Yotei update, and 2 more Xbox first-party exclusives coming to PS5. All that in today's video. We will also be taking a look at a comment left on our last video. If you want a chance to be featured in the next video, please consider leaving a comment. Before we jump into all this, guys, hit that like button to show your support, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and share the video to help grow our community. It really goes a long way. Now let's jump into this State of Play news. According to PH Brazil, PlayStation is set to host its next State of Play on Friday, February 14th. His claims back up prior ones from Nate the Hate of an event happening in February. PlayStation's last State of Play took place in September 2024. That event included games like Astrobot, Sonic X Shadow Generations, Palworld, and Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. In total, they held 4 in 2024, with the first happening on January 31st. So, we've already heard about this a little bit from Nate the Hate, saying it is pretty much the week of Valentine's Day, and now we're getting the message that it is February 14th. On a Friday, which is not necessarily unheard of. Personally speaking, I think February 14th is an interesting date for them to go with. You know, number 1, Valentine's Day. Number 2, it's my birthday. And I don't know how I feel about that, as I wouldn't be able to participate in the State of Play action that's happening. But as far as that being a legitimate date, I mean, it's possible. I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket, though. I would just go with probably expecting it the week of. More so that it's Nate the Hate that said it, where he's just proved his track record to be quite good with that switch to release date, or not even release date, the reveal date being spot on. And that's something that definitely deserves the credit. Again, we have talked a lot about what we could expect here. I don't want to go over it over and over again, as we're going to keep talking about State of Play news until it ends up happening. And the one thing that I just want to solidify here, as far as my opinions on the matter, is I'd like to see Ghost of Yotei. I'd like to see Death Stranding 2. And obviously, we'd all like to see Wolverine. Chances of us getting all those in one State of Play is very unlikely. But I think if we get one of those, it would be pretty awesome. I know a lot of people are trying to find out more about Wolverine, and we definitely need an update on Wolverine. And I feel like that might be the headliner on the next one, since they haven't really showed us anything. And Ghost of Yotei, the next time we see that, will likely be a standalone State of Play, or it being the headliner, taking up the majority of the State of Play. Death Stranding 2 still up in the air, of course, so we'll see what happens there. But let me know what you guys think about this State of Play news. Do you think it's going to be February 14th on a Friday? And what do you want to see there? Next, we're going to discuss the Ghost of Yotei update, and we've got some news here that I definitely think is important to go over. As found by @NodiPlay_ over on X, he says it has been discovered that the same writers of Dragon Age: The Veilguard are in charge of the script for Ghost of Yotei. Well, we'll see what happens. And if we go down a little further, he says, I started checking the LinkedIn of every writer who did Tsushima, and they are not with Yotei. So I went over to take a look at the LinkedIn profiles of these said writers, and I think it's important to take a look at these things ourselves to know who we're talking about. And we have Courtney Woods, who is a senior staff writer at Sucker Punch Productions. And if you see here, she worked at BioWare for 8 years and 7 months as a writer from February 2015 to February 2020. And worked on Dragon Age Veilguard and Mass Effect Andromeda, as well as Dragon Age Inquisition and a bunch of other games as well. But the most recent one being Dragon Age Veilguard and Mass Effect Andromeda, which did not do well. As we know, Veilguard has been considered a failure. It has pretty much damaged BioWare in a major way. They have downsized their staff. The game is not a success and has likely put a lot of strain on BioWare and their future. And now we have her over on the Sucker Punch team from September 2022 to now present day, which is 2 years and 6 months. So she's been working on the project for quite some time. We also go take a look at John Dombrow, and this is also a senior writer at Sucker Punch, currently working there for 1 year and 7 months. Started in August of 2023 and is the senior writer on Ghost of Yotei. Then they also worked at BioWare for 8 years and 7 months as the senior narrative designer and writer on Dragon Age Veilguard. So what's the big deal here, right? Obviously, we're seeing a game that is a follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima, which people loved. People absolutely adored that game. And now we've got all new writers on this team as far as we can tell. And these writers are from a game that failed, a game that did not do well commercially and has pretty much killed BioWare at this point. And we don't know the future of BioWare at this point. So it is a concern, without a doubt, that Ghost of Yotei is being written by two people who did not do a good job writing their last game. And in some cases, multiple games previous to that. I don't like to just like bash anybody or put them down, but it's hard to have a lot of faith in a project as far as the writing and the narrative goes when you know the people writing the game have written a previous game that did not do so hot. My concerns mostly with this is, are they going to find the right tone that they hit with Tsushima, and is Yotei going to carry that? Is it going to feel like a game in the same realm? Or is it going to be a game that feels like it's being made by a totally different studio? Dragon Age did a lot of things that were not loved by the community. As far as the Dragon Age community, as far as RPG community, it just wasn't a good game, and it wasn't a good narrative. And there were some very strange quests in there that kind of left some people puzzled as to why it was included, you know. So it's one of these things where I know the question automatically pops up as far as, you know, what I see online is that going to carry over to Ghost of Yotei? But more importantly, is this story going to feel like it belongs in the Ghost of, I don't know what to call it, but the Ghost of franchise? Is it going to feel out of place? Is it going to carry the tone? Is it like, what is the plan here? And why are we not using the same writers? That's a big question for me, as the writing was good on Tsushima. I didn't see why they wouldn't use the same writers, but nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'll play it. I will play Ghost of Yotei, and I will give it a fair shot, but I can't deny that this leaves me feeling concerned about what this narrative will be like and what the experience will be like. I know the gameplay will probably be right on, but will the story be right on? I want you guys to tell me what you think of all this. What do you think of these writers that previously worked for BioWare and did Dragon Age Veilguard, now writing for Ghost of Yotei? Are you concerned? What concerns you? Or are you not concerned at all? And let me know why that is. Now, moving on to our last story, before we jump into our comment of the day, we're talking about two Xbox first-party exclusives coming to PS5. After announcing Forza Horizon 5 for PS5, Microsoft is bringing another two Xbox first-party console exclusives to Sony's gaming platform. Both are critically acclaimed strategy games, one of which will launch in the very near future. Developer World's Edge studio head Michael Mann released an update pertaining to Age of Empires and Age of Mythology today. Specifically for PlayStation, Mann announced Age of Mythology, Retold, and Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition are heading to PS5 and will feature crossplay with Xbox and PC. In quotes, "I'm delighted to share that we are giving fans more choice to play where they want by bringing Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition and Age of Mythology Retold to PlayStation 5. Playing across all platforms is a game changer for our franchise, and it's all about bringing our community together. This isn't just about convenience, it's about growing and strengthening the Age community. With crossplay, we're creating one global battlefield where every strategy, every empire, and every player matters." Age of Mythology Retold is coming out on March 4th for PS5 at $29.99 and the Premium Edition at $49.99. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition will premiere on PS5 this spring. So this is just another collection of games that are coming over to the PS5 from Xbox, and as we know, we are to expect that to continue happening. This is something that is pretty much the case now, and it's not up for question anymore. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll talk more about the next Xbox games that are coming over, and it'll just become a norm that Xbox games are the same as Ubisoft games. They're the same as EA games. You know, they're all going to come over, and it'll just feel like another publisher. Let me know if you're going to pick up any of these Age of Empires games. Now let's talk about the comment of the day. Remember, you guys can also get your comment featured. Leave a comment on today's video, and it could be chosen for the next one. Now, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, but at Dear Adden says Xbox has the ecosystem. I'm pretty sure Xbox main players don't care if others get games. They get Game Pass day one drops, can play on PC, mobile, cloud, and the console. I just wish people would stop the whole Xbox is dead stuff. They were the biggest publisher last year. And I get what you're saying, and I appreciate the way you brought your comment forward, right? It wasn't, it was well articulated, and I like that, and I like comments like that. And I understand where you're coming from with this. First off, I do want to address that they were the big publisher last year. Yes, they were considered the big publisher last year, and that is because they bought 2 other publishers. I mean, we can't pretend that didn't happen. They bought Bethesda, they bought ABK. Like, you know, like, where are we going with this? Like, of course they're the biggest publisher last year, because it's all considered Xbox now, isn't it? Which is great. But again, you say publisher, and I think that's the biggest thing here, is that they are a publisher and they are a third-party publisher, which again, I've always said that they would be very successful as a third-party publisher. So I think this works really well for them, and I think they will thrive in that area. It's the hardware where I think that the trouble comes into. You also say that they get Game Pass Day 1 drops and can play on PC, mobile, cloud, and the console. And while Game Pass Day 1 drops will continue to really make people want to subscribe to Game Pass, I think the biggest thing here is that the console space of it, which is what a lot of people are talking about, are going to continue to diminish, and then we may not see a future for Xbox hardware because of that. A big thing about Xbox as it's in itself and what it is, and it's what its identity has been for up until now, basically, is that they wanted to push their hardware. They wanted people to play on their hardware. They needed those exclusives to pull people in. As soon as you've gotten rid of those exclusives, it doesn't matter about Day 1 Game Pass. People are going to not feel incentivized to come over to the Xbox platform, and they're going to feel like, hey, maybe we should just go to PlayStation where we will get everything. Or even in a case like we could go to Nintendo and get Nintendo and Xbox games, depending on what they're able to port over to Switch too. It lowers the incentive to go over to the Xbox hardware. And as we know, if the Xbox hardware or any type of hardware does not get enough support, or not enough consumers are purchasing them and spending time on them, then it becomes a situation of, is it worth it for Microsoft to continue creating this hardware? And I think while they will create next-gen hardware, unless that hardware does well, at least to Microsoft standards, I don't see them continuing to push forward when they're still making majority of their money on other platforms, which is a big deal here. If you guys remember looking at the Activision reports and what happened with Call of Duty, and even if you look at what happened with most consumer spendings, 64% of it, I believe, was on PlayStation, which is massive. It's absolutely massive. So it begs the question, what is the point of hardware when hardware isn't a big money maker, right? It's a software that makes the money. And then if you've got Game Pass anyway, you can use it on your TV, on your PC, on your phone, as you said. So again, it decreases the importance of Xbox console hardware. And I'm addressing your comment backwards, and this is intentional, but the last thing you say is Xbox has the ecosystem. I'm pretty sure Xbox main players don't care if others get the games. I think, sure, probably a casual audience might not care, because I think a casual audience may not even be aware of the deeper nitty-gritty of the games industry. But I do think that there are a lot of Xbox players that do care, and they do feel that their investment in a console was not worth it. It was not well worth it. It just felt like, hey, we bought this console and we may as well have just gone to PC or gone to PlayStation, because in the end, we could have experienced games at a much higher fidelity in the case of PC, or had PlayStation games as well in the case of PlayStation. So while they do have an ecosystem, it's just the value of that ecosystem, right? And it depends on the person. So one person might say, I think there's a lot of value here. And another person might say, hey, I don't think there's much value here. I'd rather just play these games and buy the ones I like over on PlayStation, unless, of course, PlayStation allows Game Pass on their console, which I just don't see that happening anytime in the near future. But let me know what you guys think about this comment. As always, leave your comment as well to be featured in the next video. As always, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and share the video to help grow our community. I thank you all for watching. Take care.